Welcome to the first podcast of 2018.
Yes. What up?
2018. That feels weird to say, but like right all at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know you know what I mean, Mr. Fucking hate odd numbers.
I was gonna say,
shit, right?
that's an even number. So.
Yeah, because like you'd be talking about, you probably just, man, I'm fucking just so blown out on the screen. I look like a ghost.
Boo, son.
Boo.
It'll once the fucking clouds and shit move, it'll be good.
Yeah, it's fucking overcast as hell out here.
Crazy, yeah. It's like straight up like a wall of white outside.
It's been so weird out here because I'm up on like the 23rd floor, and like you'll see either a wall of fog above where I am, or below where I am, and then completely clear, and you'll see the mountains.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. Like
even yesterday, like, it's funny because like we face each other, right? We're like the only tall buildings.
I'm gonna fly my drone over there one day. I'm telling you.
That'd be sick. I'll open up my big windows and try to catch it. Right?
Pass a fucking doobie or some shit. I think that'd be light enough to tape to the bottom and have it still fucking keep its coordinates.
Dude, I mean, like, if what's his name? Casey had the one to carry him.
Yeah,
like
that thing was
and his snowboard,
man.
Full gear, everything. That's fucked.
Yeah, I fucking love it. I fucking I did my big collection video the other day, and
of your shoes, right?
Yeah. My god, that took forever to do.
How'd that go?
It went good. I'm glad.
How long did it take to set up? First of all,
all day.
Were you like constantly like you and your OCD? I could see you just like arranging them, and you're like, okay, cool, and then you're like. You look at from like bird's eye view and you're like, no, that color should go over here.
It was more like
did you try to do a gradient or what?
No, I didn't do that. I did it based off of kind of like groupings of what the shoes were. But the thing that just even kind of like got overwhelming was when I started laying them out. All of a sudden you went like, oh, I got to move everything back over more. Oh, I got to move everything closer together. Oh, I don't have enough space.
Oh, right.
Oh no.
Right.
So it just turned into let's just try to find enough space. So it ended up going from
you did it right here?
Right here kind of thing, like to right where the computer chair is, the whole way across, like.
And then you're probably having to do it so you crop it so you don't get like the edge of the couch.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna do a time lapse of myself doing
all the wires
and
shit.
I had to do all this like
away.
moving and shit so much. But when I had it all set up, it was a lot of shit. So what I was gonna brought that up for though is because I had all that stuff, so I flew my drone in, and I was flying my drone around inside here. Well, dude, when I first got my drone. Yeah. First flight, not even like ever flown it or anything. I fly it in here.
Okay, well that's better than.
And I fucking there's some like propeller marks up on the wall over there and shit because I fucked it up. But like a couple weeks ago or a few weeks back, I had crashed I had crashed my drone good on my vlog into some fucking like a 20-foot tall tree, and it pinballed the whole way down. And it was fine.
Oh fuck!
Yeah, and it ended up being fine. So when I was flying around here, it was flying a little weird. It was flying a little wonky.
Like after you hit shit, or
well, no, like after the big bail. Like I didn't hit anything in here. Too bad when I was doing my shoe stuff. I crashed it once. I won't lie.
Too bad.
But then I go and take a look at it because I hadn't checked the blades.
I was gonna say how. Like brittle are they? They're
super thin on the spark.
Yeah.
So I went and checked the propellers, which I never did after crashing it through a tree.
Like, are they super flexible?
Yeah. They're
so they got a lot of give.
Yeah, they got a bit of give action.
Probably helps.
And but 3 of 4 of them were completely broken, like snapped in the middle and shit. And I'm like, that's a good thing.
It's flying off.
Yeah, it's like. Trying to stay alive.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
do they come with replacement?
So they do come with some replacements. But
do they fucking know, eh?
They know.
They're like, yo, whoever's buying this is gonna.
Yeah, and then I looked into it, and it's like $13 for a full set of replacements. So I'm just gonna like,
a full set,
spend like $50 or something, and just
how many are on it? 4?
Yeah, all 4.
Sets?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So but it was just funny because it's just like, man, if I would have taken my drone, flown it up 1,200 meters or some shit, and then one of those things finally snapped because there was just big cracks straight through it, so they looked fine.
Shit. You just watch them fly off and then it drops down.
Or you're just like looking, because at that point you're pretty much just watching the footage on your screen, because your screen becomes
right. If it just they rain on you and you're like, what the fuck's this shit, and then just seconds after, boom, you're
you just see the camera go like this. Oh.
You're like, wait, what? You look up, boom.
No, it would be doing this because it would have only one. So you'd be like, oh,
just total chopper down. It's like smoking and shit.
You're just watching Black Hawk Down. And mine would be White Hawk Down because it's a little white spark. But yeah, I just thought that was so funny. It was just like one of those things where that's totally my way of doing things. Like, let me just hop in and just like, I'll go fly my drone. Like, not safety check it. Not.
Well, I mean, like, if you don't know, you don't know, right?
You know.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So. And the funny thing is, like, I hadn't checked those since I first flew my drone into my homie on the island when I first got it. So one of those propellers could have been broken this entire time. And I just didn't know. You know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's just the way it is.
How long of a gap would that have been then?
4 months.
Yeah.
You know, so I could have just been flying around with a cracked propeller this entire time, and it's just like
luck was on your side. Eh?
I guess. I fucking guess. I don't know. It was fucking funny though, dude. Oh, jeez.
So how'd the video turn out?
It was good, man. It took so long to edit because then I wanted to do like after I did the whole thing where I'm like, okay, I'll edit all that stuff. Then my dumbass wants to do a time lapse of every fucking like shoe not being placed, not with me even in the frame, just like magically appearing, like a Sesame Street kind of thing. It's like bing, 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 bing. Except that wasn't the music, you know what I mean? But then
Mr. Sandman. Yeah, is that the beat you're doing?
Pretty much. I don't know why that came into my head, but
what is it? Fuck, that just made me think of what movie uses that. Is that
Mr. Sandman?
Back to the Future?
Bring me a dream. I don't remember.
And they'd film like the diner.
It might be, and then it's always just with that super AM filter on it, like super, just like all the low end cut out, all the high end cut out. Just like I love that AM filter so much. That was always one of my go tos when I was fucking engineering and like music. And you want to like spice up either an intro or like a little part, and you just like have this one little, or you just make the whole mix sound like it's coming out of like a fucking old school telephone speaker in the background or some shit.
Okay, so like when you're doing music stuff, what's like, or when you even hear music or whatever, what's your favorite like type of thing that people do when you're like, you know, you're listening to something and then it will switch, like they drop the bass or
yeah.
Do you have something that you're like, oh fuck yeah, like I love it when people do that? Because for me it's treble. Like when I'm listening to a song and they like they fade it like the treble and it sounds like, and then it's just like boom, they bring it back in. Like I love that like when people fuck with the treble and when people cut out the beat, and then they'll just go and then boom, they drop it back in. Like I love when people fuck with shit like that. Like I love
that kind of even dabbles a bit on, I guess, what mine would be. Where my favorite part of music is the choice is silence. Is the choice of silence. And like that was always, and like where you plan on placing, it's literally what you're talking about, little cutouts before a drop, you know what I mean? In fucking heavy vast metal, the fucking syncopated guitar, the
like the gap between,
like all that shit is just, it's now silence. Where it got crazy to a point where, because with, I'm gonna go on a little tangent here. With amplifiers,
hey man, I'll roll the red carpets there, dude. Let's go.
With amplifiers, they never used to have a distorted signal by any means, right? It was always just a clean fucking guitar just being amplified through magnets,
right?
And so essentially, there's rumors around who started it, but they say it was Tony Iommi who started overdriving amplifiers to be able to get this distorted sound. And it was definitely people around that time where they would just be
like, sorry to cut you off, but just because he wanted to play with sound, so he started to do that.
Everybody was just fucking with it, right? Yeah? So they would always be fucking with the little transistors in here. What if I put a stronger capacitor over here? What if I put tubes in here that weren't designed to be in here?
Yeah, like I guess at that level, you're always like searching.
Yeah.
To like find something new,
right?
How can I switch something, right? So then you start messing with like the equipment,
exactly,
right?
And that was so big at the time too, because there was only 5 choices of everything, whether it was music to buy off the shelf, whether it was brands of like clothing, whether it was, you know what I mean? It was literally, there was 5 things.
Yeah.
You don't like these 5? Too bad. That's it.
That's all we got.
Yeah. So people would just be like, that there was mad tinkering level at that sense. Was just like, well, I want to be able to do this. Why can't I? So then
right. Just it's like when you're limited.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
expands your horizon on a big level, right? So then he ended up getting to a point where he was overdriving these tubes with like a stronger electrical current per se, so that all of a sudden the sound was starting to break up, and that becomes distortion that we know now today. And then so that ended up creating like, you know, like when you hear like the wee, like the big feedback shit, like when people hold their guitars up to amps, we all know and love feedback. It's something chaotic about it. But it got so maddening that when you're trying to play this heavy ass distorted guitar, the heavier and harder that you're pushing these tubes and to get a stronger distortion, the feedback would get even greater.
Right.
So then every time you would stop playing, your guitar would just go wee, like, so then you'd see people quickly rolling the volume off as soon as they stopped playing. So there's that shit, because it was just like you couldn't control.
It's like that's like what I just pictured was that's the equivalent of like DJ scratching.
Yeah.
And when the crossfader, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like then you don't hear the pullback.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So the whole thing like that becomes taming the beast of sound.
Taming the beast,
right? Because it's the same thing. Like you're saying, you don't want to hear them with those cuts or scratches or
just to make it
thing.
Like a cleaner transition.
Exactly. Right.
It's like quick.
So then you're like, that became one of my favorite things about playing electric guitar, was that you had this roaring monster of a beast behind you that you were trying to control through all these variables. And then all of a sudden it enters the age of like, I think it would probably been like, well, they had been messing around with like expanders and gates and stuff like that for a long time, but they ended up coming with sound gates where you could set a threshold of volume. And as soon as it comes, like you stop playing, and then the decibel level of the signal comes to a certain range, it cuts out the audio. So then all of a sudden,
automatically.
Okay. So you're setting the threshold and the attack of when this gate.
Attack.
Literally, that's what it's called. It's got a threshold and an attack knob.
Oh.
Yeah, and so you're setting the threshold, the attack, and the release of the gate, and these few different parameters, so that you're now able to have this thing behind you automatically shut down. And then now you have controlled silence. So now all of a sudden, when you get everybody rocking these things within certain stuff, you're able to accentuate different parts of the music better, if you will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it just gives you, and it just gives you, I don't know, an overall greater control over this fucking monster sound. Right?
Yeah.
So then it was just so fun that like you'd start to be able to mess around with that with like, just like by how much you'd slightly dial back your guitar knob, like
how sensitive it'll be, right?
Because then if you had the threshold set at a certain point, if you had your shit all the way up so that it would almost ignore it, you'd still have that raging beast. And then if you turn it down 1 or 2, then it would be into that super cut up zone where you'd want this like dick, you know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know, I just like I say, Tangent City, that like it becomes that magical silence. Because I mean, like with the guitar or any other thing, you want to just keep fucking playing, you want to just keep going and letting sound be this barrage of, you're like, no, you need to learn to step back at certain points, you know what I mean?
And it adds for like a good like effect to like for the listener, right? Because it breaks it up, and it makes it easier to like take in what's going on almost,
for sure.
You know what I mean?
And it almost became like, I think I can relate it to any form of like art, like in like would it be painting or something like that like less is more sometimes, you know what I mean? Just because you're going ham in a certain area with like, let me add all those colors in this part, then some spots you can almost go like negative space that, or like
negative space for sure,
right?
Yeah
And I think that's the silence of that in, you know, whatever the fractal way you want to look at it, like
because like with the negative space, because then your mind's like trying to fill in the gaps, right? So it's like your brain's almost filling in what's not there, right? And then you're seeing more than what's actually there, because your brain's trying to be like, oh, is there something actually on that edge, or like
yeah. And I wonder even if too that like, I just totally thought about this as like, you know, I'm like half baked, is that thinking about it on the outside of somebody who isn't an artist, right? They usually look at all these paintings and go like, how the fuck do you do that? So then all of a sudden they see this negative space where it's literally just the canvas, and that might be the only relatable portion of what they're actually looking at, being like, oh, well, I can see where they used canvas for that highlighted space of his, you know what I mean? So it's just like this weird, anything that makes you think about it like that. That
yeah. And that's funny when people are always like, how did you do that? Right?
Yeah.
Like that shit. But
you took something out of nothing, man. Literally.
Yeah.
That's that saying. You started from a blank canvas.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the best feeling, man.
Yeah, I think some people get intimidated by that, where it's like, oh, it's a blank canvas. It's like you can do what you want.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like when just they say that you can apply it to anything, right? But
and you're like, they're like, what do you mean?
They're overwhelmed because they're like, literally, I could do anything, but where do I start on something that's empty, like that's blank, right? They're like, they get overwhelmed that they like. But when you flip it and you're like, there's nothing on it, you're like, sick, I can do anything I want, right? It's like the two ways to look at it. It's like, I can make it whatever and you can roll with it, or the people that are like, oh fuck, I can make it whatever. So well, dude, that's I don't know what to make it.
I always like try to go fractal with all my ideals, where like if I'm so far into one thing, I need to be able to step out and use that same thought process to something else, and then like it almost validates it for me. So like literally what you're talking about is like why I still play Grand Theft Auto online, is because the game is just an open world map, blank canvas, and it's just like, and there's so many people that like, I remember year one, they're like, this game's boring, this sucks, and I'm just like
it's not boring.
You're boring.
That game and probably like Skate. I've spent like stupid hours playing. Just because.
By the way, Skate streams are happening soon.
Yeah. I was actually gonna bring it up because I looked up and I saw it was like something that stood out. It was like, saw the Skate, and I'm like, yo, we should do that.
Fuck yeah.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, but yeah, you're like you're saying that like GTA, Skate, any of those things that is a blank canvas kind of game where it's like
the open world, right?
Yeah, dude. Just like, for me, that was always my steez, because it was just like,
and I find it so easy, like versus like when you're playing a game like, you know, say like Mario or whatever, right? When you're like side scrolling, or a game that has a goal when you're at checkpoints and stuff.
Yeah.
You kind of like, if you fail at something over and over, and you're like, oh fuck it, you get like, you know, you like rage quit.
The rage quit. Yeah, we've all known that one.
Or you just get fed up with like beating a boss, or when you have a task. But then when you have these open worlds, when you're free, and it's like, you're just like, oh, and it's just like picking up a marker and just doodling. It's just like you get into like the flow state
for sure,
right? And you're just like, you fucking zone out, and then you just like, it's like on autopilot.
Dude,
you know?
The amount of times that I've crushed full podcasts to Skate, like Joe Rogan 3-hour podcast to Skate, you know, and then put on another one,
and then you're like, oh fuck, what else is new?
Throw on another one
round 2, right?
Yeah, dude, and that's exactly it. Like, I love that shit so much. So like, those are the kind of things that I'm gonna start bringing back. I really want to push streaming a lot more this year, like as far as like games and other things, and even when I get my iPad, I want to stream fucking drawing and shit. Like, if I'm gonna be sitting down working on something for 2 hours, I might as well
record it.
Exactly, might as well throw it up. And if people want to come hang out, come hang out. You know, keep me company and shit. Give me that validation when I feel like a piece of shit and want to walk away.
Oh no, motherfucker! Right?
Yeah.
We said 2 hours. Sit back down, right?
Yeah, that's the one thing that, like, because like I just kind of showed you when you showed up here. I just fucking hopped back into drawing after probably about a decade. Like, it's just time to get into it again. Like, it was just, it's just, I don't know. It was my roots. So it's like, I felt like I really strayed so far from a lot of that stuff, just trying to pursue business and life and the whole other things, and then my shitty wrists, and you know, you just make excuses.
Yeah, man. So what were you gonna say? You were talking earlier about the iPad, right? That's what you ordered.
Yeah. Like iPad Pro with a pencil and stuff like that.
Yeah. You were like, oh, I'll talk about it after.
I was just like simply saying that, like, because
it was the programs you were explaining.
Yeah, I was looking into the programs and stuff like that, because like I've always really been. This goes into kind of what we were talking about. Like,
okay, sorry to cut you off again. But the programs and stuff, is that all on there?
What do we always talk about? My cat's fucking around during the podcast. What is she doing? What the fuck are you
tripping on? There's nothing there. Are those programs on there already, or do you have to like pay to get that shit?
A couple of them are free, and then other ones like will either have like a monthly fee of like $7 or some shit, or like,
oh, they fucking hit you with that shit.
Yeah. But it's you know what, I'm 100% fine with that for like some of the heavier apps that I want to use, that like they have developers behind that shit putting out like updates like all the time. And like, but
would you rather that though than like just when you're at the store, you're buying it online or whatever, and they're like, oh, add this software for like $200,
right,
like
right,
then you
right,
just
right,
like
right.
then you have it,
yeah
versus like how we were saying kind of like the shelf life for computers, you know, 6-8 years, then you're having to pay 6 to 8 years of $7 a month, like.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know, I really like both ends of it, because like I've had lots of times where I just want to try something, and then all of a sudden I just like use it for a couple months, and I only paid $14. You know what I mean? Sure, or there's times where like, you know, you don't have $200 or some shit. You're like, it really works well for what I find for like the self-employed or like the student. You know what I mean? So it's just like I even have like a buddy of mine that uses the Creative Cloud with Adobe, where it's like you'll pay X amount per month and you get access to all of Adobe's programs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is something that I'm even looking at. I'm like, oh, maybe I should just even fucking. And then the sweet thing is that all the stuff's kind of like in the cloud or whatever, and then you can essentially access it from any computer at that point. So you could just like go, and if you need to just like fucking download the software, access all your shit, get to work.
Yeah, you already own it because you're paying for it. Yeah.
So, like, getting back to, I guess, the original point was just some fact that like was what we were always into drawing, stepped away from it. And then like kind of what we were talking about, like you just mentioned, like, how much did you spend on art supplies the other day?
Stupid.
Love
like
that.
Around like $1,000.
And I remember you saying that you spent that like a few months ago, or like a couple months ago, you know, and I understand it. Cause like you need to, like that's the medium. And that's,
I mean, yeah, it's
a fucking,
you got to invest, man.
And exactly. And that's exactly what it is.
It's not like you're just like buying like one thing. It's
No.
You need like, when you're constantly messing around with stuff, you need to like re-up on stuff you've used.
Yeah.
And then you're, okay, I'm gonna try this time. I'm gonna buy a little bit of this to try. But
it's all, no, sorry, keep going.
But you need paper, you need fucking markers, whatever it is you're doing. It's like, you know, even if you're buying pencils, then you're like, oh, I need to buy like a bunch of them because I'm gonna use the fuck out of them. Then I need to buy paper that matches like the type of pencils I'm using, but then you need to buy like erasers, like depending on what type of pencil it is, whether charcoal or fucking graphite or whatever. I busted
out the old big and then like all your eraser last night because that's all I had.
Yeah, the trusty one, right?
Yeah.
And then you need like, you know, like blending stubs and like, just for just pencil drawings. It's like you don't just buy pencils. It's like you buy that fucking pack of pencils, but then you need to spend another $100 on like the fucking ... the shit that you need. Like that's kind of what like people don't that
was the whole end of it.
Don't
Just
realize
that like I remember this is kind of something we dabbled about before the podcast. I don't know why I said it that way.
Yeah. And like another thing too though is like when I tell people or like, oh, I went and got stuff, and people are like, oh shit, like how much did you spend? And they're like, you're fucking crazy, right? They're like, I can't believe you spent $1,000 on, like, they think you bought the store.
Yeah.
You know?
And you're like,
and you're like, no, but like, this is gonna last, like, this is my art stuff for a couple months.
This is my fucking tools, man.
Right? But it's like, okay, but what do you spend $1,000 on? Like, how much?
Well, think about
the 4 months of my art supplies. Like, how much alcohol do you buy? How much junk food do you buy?
Not even
how much fucking weed do you buy?
Step back.
You know, it's like all the shit that I don't buy that you spend money on. It's it fucking evens out.
Oh, dude, 100%.
You know what I mean? So like, people don't think of it like that.
I always looked at it that way, and the one that I try to look at it nowadays would be like, who would scoff at somebody for paying the fucking almost $600 for a pair of fucking I forget the name of them, and they're like red. Anyways, this high-end brand of work boots. They're about $600.
Oh, Red Wings.
Yeah. And
but those are your fucking boots.
But that's your boot. That's just the boots.
Like that's like if you
and
take care of those.
And then a guy goes and buys his tools and then his belt, and he's already spent $3,000 on shit.
Fine, yeah.
But that's his tools. Nobody's gonna be like, "Ooh, you went to buy the store, Jim.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you buying this stuff for?" And you're like, "I gotta go to work. You know, I got things I need to do.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get the tools to do it.
Yeah.
And I want to do it to the best of my ability and explore different options." So I don't know. I think the best part about that too, though, is like you're with. This kind of like
It's not going to waste.
No, it's not going to waste at all. But I had this feeling like when I was younger, obviously to the day, I enjoy quality things. And the reason behind it being that like, there's a reason why it costs that much, and that I almost appreciate the fact that it's harder to get, because then when you do finally get it and you have that limited supply of it, you learn, and you
spend money and you're like, well, I need to fucking I need to fucking get to work.
So say you only, when you started painting, how many of those paints did you first buy? Like how many colors? It's like a dozen maybe, if that.
Maybe like 20.
Yeah. So there you go, 20. You got 20 colors. What are you up to now?
Maybe like 50.
Yeah, so you've over doubled that shit. But when you started, your mind is within these 20 colors, and you're now like, what can I fucking do with these 20 colors?
I mean, it's like you could just buy the primary colors.
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah, exactly. And then start mixing and just become a mad scientist. Yeah, of course.
But the problem with that is, say you make a color, and how we were saying, like you're saying with the program, when you paint, that they've actually made it so like the paint starts to dry, like
they've
digitally.
Fucked up algorithms for that shit now.
But when you paint in real life, like I use acrylic, the colors change when they dry.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the shit they talk about.
So say you mix up a color, right? Because you can't buy, like you look at a photo on someone, you're like, okay, that color on his cheek, that's on the shelf. Okay, this color's made. It's like, no.
It's still like Home Depot scan shit.
Yeah, just what Pantone color is this, right? It's like that doesn't exist with paint. So that's why you need to learn color theory and learn how to make colors.
Exactly.
Because you are limited.
Yes.
Even though there's still quite a few to buy.
Yeah.
You're still like, you'll never be able to pick out fucking colors on people's faces, right? So you have to know how to mix colors. And then when you mix that color, say within whatever session that you're working on that piece, you do it, night goes, come back the next day, that color is going to be different than, like, it's now dried, so it's gotten darker.
I was just about to say that,
right? And so when you go back and you're like, okay, so I need to use that color again to go up in whatever part of the head, and then you're like, oh fuck, how did I make that color again? Like, what was the ratio I used? Because I don't need quite as much today.
Yes.
So then you're like, oh fuck, how did I do the ratio? And then it's like, you think then now you're trying to match it to the dried color.
Yeah.
So you need to actually make it a lighter color, because it's like,
it's this chase, man.
So
but so that kind of, that I'm glad that's like the perfect answer for like that the whole situation, because it was like when you could start off with those 20, or if you were like, that fucking like somehow like you're like the rich kid phenom, you're not even a phenom, you're just a rich kid or whatever, and you get the 1,000 colors or whatever, and then now you spend like 45 minutes just trying to pick out the color, rather than spending that 45 minutes.
It's arguably just as bad to have everything you need versus not enough.
Well, I've seen the same argument. Because
then you're gonna be like, okay, is this one closer or is this one closer? And then you're like,
so you're gonna spend that 45 minutes trying to pick the shit out, or you could just apply that and learn how to build it, construct it, understand color theory more, and then just like apply yourself. And it was like that shit again, like with everything, man, was always like, I've heard many people that say that like, fuck going to school, spend that money on the gear and apply yourself for that same amount of time, and you'll be like tenfold better off,
Yeah, and I mean, if you're like passionate about it, it's like there's so much information out there, is like what I always tell people.
Yeah.
Like I'm not against schooling, like for the arts, but I'm just like it's not necessary per se.
But when somebody's talking about
if you're just hungry, like for fucking like knowledge and something you want to do, like you're gonna fucking like find a way to do it. Like, whether you're trying to find a video on someone explaining like color theory, or like how to use a medium, or reading up about it, it's like that information's out there. It's like, it just depends on how fucking bad you want it.
Exactly, what I mean? Man.
And like, if you just put in like the amount of hours I put in to like not only just working on pieces, but like what goes into like what became of that piece, the month I spent researching and countless hours on using that medium, or like which one would work best, and then like like I said, that medium. Okay, so what paper or what canvas or what type of like canvas do I need to match that? And then the tools to go with it.
Dude, all the knowledge, that's the shit.
It's like it takes so much time and people do not like realize it. It's like you're not just like, if you're in class, you pay that fee, they give you the supplies, or they tell you what you need. Or you gotta go through, your courses or whatever. At the end, you're like, okay, I finally learned like what I need.
Yeah.
Or if you're just like on your own and you're just like, okay, where's that info?
Fiend,
you know what I mean? And you're just like,
that's what we always
you're up at
it.
night and you're just like, okay, what do I need? You become like so obsessed about it.
Exactly, dude.
Like,
and that's how you get shit fucking done, in my opinion. Is you get into that fiend state, and like when you're on the pursuit of knowledge,
you're just fucking hungry.
And you want to know something, because that's the one thing I always remembered, even being in kind of school, is like when something would come up, and like you'd now be super intrigued by this one point, and you'd want to go further into it, but then the curriculum would just want to keep moving.
Yeah, they just move on.
Yeah, because we have the set schedule.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, but I need to. So when you're a fiend for whatever it is that you're coming out with, you go down these avenues, and that's how you find this eclectic style and all these things of this nature, right? Because it's like, whether it's music, whether it's art, whether it's anything else, then you find these little things that become your favorite, and that ends up becoming your style.
Like, and like, I mean, when people are like passionate about something, it's like then you become, it's like crossing over to obsession.
Oh, 100%. I think passion and obsession go hand in hand.
Right? So it's that drive. So when you look at like, I don't know, like the whole school thing, right? Like people think you got to go to school in order to do whatever. But look at like musicians, for example, right? So like people like fucking are crazy at guitar or something, right? It's like that dude didn't graduate high school and go to like guitar school. You know what I mean? It's like he was like, no, I fuck with guitar. Like I'm gonna just like, and you become obsessed, and that's all you do.
Yup.
Or like fucking like there's no rap school.
No.
Like people don't go to school to learn how to rap. It's
with
like
everything. Like I don't know. That's the main thing that I'm learning as I get older, though. Is that everything is like a culmination of literally everything you've ever worked on.
It's like just look at all these people that are like the best in what they do, but there's no schooling for it. No. It's like they were obsessed and they're still obsessed till the day they die. And then, they're just like, they just were like, this is what I like to do. I'm just like, and you just become completely like surrounded and engulfed in that thing. Well,
that was the trippy ass part about it last night, when I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna force myself to do a sketch. And I was just like, I'm gonna, sit down for an hour. This is what I gotta do. And then, but I hadn't fucking done that. And
was that yesterday?
That was yesterday. That was last night. Yeah.
How funny is that? We're like simultaneously doing the same thing. Yeah. Even now.
I was just like busting ass, just like, okay, I need to force myself to do this, because I used to be able to do it. I used to be good at it. But then I was so much better than what I thought I would have been, because of all, like I literally was saying that we're the culmination of everything that's ever happened, is that I observe shit so much. I always have. So obviously I've always had this artist mind, whether it be through music, looking at art, looking at other people do art, fucking even just when you start doing shit, I'm like, my mind being blown, like, whoa, like this shit's like possible. Like, so you start thinking about shit in a different way, right?
Yeah.
When you're kind of exposed to it. So then all of a sudden it was just kind of like my hands were rusty. For sure.
Yeah.
And then figuring out like the new medium. I've never used those felts before. But it was the simple fact that all these things that I had been observing and like picking up over the last 10 years just like made it, I was maybe better or at almost the kind of like same point in certain things as I was before. Yeah,
because you're not like doing it yourself, but your observational skills are better now.
Yeah.
How you're saying like you're applying your like shit you've done in your life to something you've done before,
right?
So your observational skills are better, so now you're trying to do something old with new skills.
And
so
that's
elevates,
totally how it felt.
Yeah
That's totally how it felt, where it was like, it was literally applying all of my knowledge and learning of real world shit.
And then you're like, oh shit, you're like, this turned out better than I thought, even though I haven't done this in so long. But
with something that I had probably spent 15 years straight doing nothing but when I was younger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like from age 5 or no, whatever. Whenever just you put something in my hand and as a kid I was drawing.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I just like, I got so tied up through like then getting injured. That was the big one. Because as soon as my tendonitis was really bad, that pretty much threw all drawing out the window. And it was just like, like kaputs, right? So then, I don't know. It just like, it was refreshing in that sense to see that like, it was almost the same as like with guitar stuff. I remember when I would take a break from guitar for a few weeks, I would then almost forget certain nuances that were bad that I would have been perpetuating and following down that
so you fall back into the bad habits.
Yeah. So then all of a sudden I'd forget that shit and then I'd like correct myself by not doing it, if that makes any sense. Because like when I would be playing guitar, I would always be doing this one thing where I'd be freaking out that my pinky would be jumping up or some other shit.
Oh, like you'd be worried it's gonna accidentally tap.
Or no, it just because like, you just wanted to be economy of motion, so that your fingers are barely moving, right? And if your pinky's doing this fucking jumpy shit, you're like, what the hell, man?
You're like, come on, dog.
So then if you're always paying attention, then I would stop playing for a few weeks, but then my mind would obviously be thinking about finger movements and I'd just be doing exercises and just kind of, I don't know, I'm always just thinking through shit, right?
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden when I come back to it, I'm no longer have that muscle memory of doing the bad thing. I'm only thinking about doing the right thing.
The muscle memory, yeah.
You know? So then it was all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this economy of motion's a little better now. By not playing?
Yeah, it's
you
like,
know? Wait, but it does actually kind of work in that sense if you are only thinking about
step away.
Yeah, if you're only thinking about the bad thing and then like subconsciously doing the bad thing and then step away for a minute, you know, like it's right. You know, it's interesting, man. Like it's been a fucking trippy ass pursuit though. I'm gonna definitely want to pick your brain about paint now that you're fucking deep, because like
paint, yeah,
I've never
like where do you start?
Painted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like my grandpa was a painter, and I'd fucking his shit's trippy. It's that like old school. I don't know.
Like landscapey stuff.
He'd do landscape stuff. He'd do portrait stuff.
Portraits. Abstract.
No, not abstract. It was always realism.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still life stuff. You know, where it's like the classic bowl of fruit, for example. Like when you place something there.
Yeah, there'd
like
be some of that kind of
thing.
stuff, but it'd be mostly like there was like people, and then there was like
objects.
Like no, like kind of like places. Kind of like a cabin with like, you know, like trees and
the Bob Ross shit.
Yeah, the Bob Ross draw kind of shit. But yeah, it'd be interesting just even like I'll show you that kind of stuff just to see like your like an actual like an artist take on
like
something
you,
that
like
I
you see
the
you have the final product, right? And you're like, okay, by looking at this, like where did they start?
Yeah,
how did they go about? Because yeah, it's like you can't almost do that where I could look at something and like you wouldn't know for sure, but you would have an understanding, right? You're like, oh, we probably started with this. Like this is, you can tell like, oh, this is on top of that, how it's layered, right. Or like the medium where someone who's like a fucking
Goomba,
you know, it's like someone who is like makes stuff out of wood.
Yeah.
You look at a desk and they're like, they could tell you like just by looking at it if it was like well made,
right?
Or like how they went about just by looking at it. They're like, okay, I can see how it's done. Oh, this is like, is that maple? You know, like they can buy the same thing.
Yeah, we went on a big old tangent city here, but like when you originally asked me about the iPad stuff,
oh fuck,
I was like,
wait, what did I?
I was bringing that up because, and I wanted to lead you into the art supply portion of it, because when I was younger as a kid, that ended up defining what medium I drew with, which ended up being Bic pens. Which Bic pens just became, because you can always afford a Bic pen.
You know who's pretty much a fucking spokesman for Bic pen, like just because they secretly love it. Your boy Seinfeld.
Oh, okay,
right?
Yeah.
He's like, he only uses Bic pens. He's like, because it always works.
I've
like
heard
likes
him,
how it is.
Yeah, he would say some shit like that, and that is exactly why I always loved it. It was just like I always had. If I had Bic pen, it would always work. The fluidity would work. Yeah. So I would either do that, or then I eventually got into using fine liners, and it was just like fine liners. Fresh fine liner. Nothing better. I'd use fucking shitty ones the other day, and it was so heartbreaking. Super dry shit. But
I love like the super fine ones. Like you ever get like you can buy like the packs. It's like the micron ones where it's kind of like the tan color with the black cap. Those are like everywhere. They always have like the preset packs where they kind of give you a bunch of different thicknesses. But the ones that are like super fine, you have to specifically buy them singles. But not everywhere has them. And like the ones that I really like are like the 0.05. Like a millimeter. They're super tiny, super thin.
I think I've never had one of those.
And then even like I came across 0.03, and that was those markers that use the Copic markers. That brand, they do that. That's the only brand I've seen that does like. That's the smallest I've seen.
Yeah.
And dude, it's so fine. Like it's so awesome for just doing like eyebrows and like eyelashes,
or like if you had to do some stubble or some shit.
It's like just those little wispy lines. Like they're just. They're so like you do like little quick like the baby hairs and shit, And it's just like, oh fuck, it looks so good.
This shit gets crazy. Was that like, so having that like knowledge when I was younger, of being like, man, like knowing that all these other tools were out there and shit like that, and then just being okay, well I'm gonna draw with my big pens, my fine liner if I'm feeling fancy, fine liner, and then that was it. I was defined by that, and then not saying that was a bad thing. I loved that because I was a comic book style art anyways, so it was like line work, bolding, shading.
Would you just do like the blue, black, red?
I just do. If I was doing it, it would all be monochrome. So it would always just be whatever color I would start with. That would be it. Yeah. So if it was blue, it would be blue for everything. Blue shading, blue cross hatching.
I would only use like blue or black. I would never fuck with like. I could never just draw in red.
It's a tattoo artist style thing to do, and I really want to start fucking with it. Same thing with sketching in blue.
Yeah, when they
like light blue.
They do like the Sharpies even, like they draw on you. You know why they do like the different colors, right?
It's for seeing like depth and shit, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And then like they kind of loosely will say they'll do something like yellow, right? Because they're kind of unsure. And then they'll go over like an orange because they're like, okay, it's more definite. Like I'm gonna do that. And then they'll go darker and they're like, for sure, I'm gonna stick with that. It's like,
so fucking so. With wanting to hop back into stuff, my main reason for getting into an iPad stuff was that like for my existing business, laser engraving and stuff like that is all based off of vector graphics.
Yeah.
And to get something like even to draw a photo and then bring it into a computer and then convert that into vector graphics is much work.
Yeah.
Even if it was just like, yo, smiley face, like it would take me a while, right?
That last sign that we made when
for the last
like
show,
I was like, okay, cool, and then like you were like, okay, and then you took over and you were like doing the vectoring, and I was watching you do it, and I was like, fuck that. Like that's like the shit. I'm so used to doing stuff by hand, and then looking at like how you would do it on the computer, and then you're having to like do all those points and like switch it over, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, fuck that. Like
so then now I have all that back end knowledge of doing all that computer based stuff.
But and with this you don't have to. It's like it's like
pretty much
basically drawing in vector.
There is options for that and stuff like that, where I mean you're still gonna have to utilize shapes and things of that nature, but what I'm gonna try to meld now is like the newer knowledge of like all this computer based stuff and like understanding the vector and rasterizing and that shit mixed with the other portion of it. And Rogan, can you stop meowing? You're making me stop thinking about what I'm trying to think about. Just basically the simple fact that like I'm now hopping back in. That was my reason for hopping into this, but like I'm big time doing it to reignite the artist in myself again, of like, yo, I want to be able to draw and fucking do all this other shit, have hands on with all these things that like this thing's like pretty much like a dream. If you handed this to young me, oh my god.
Right.
Like
go to town.
Right. So just like the fact that you now have, I was looking into it and I kind of half explained it to you and stuff like that, but they're now having like, when you go in, you can choose every single kind of brush under the sun, from like every single kind of pencil. They have the crayon fucking options, pencils, all the things where it like literally simulates like the graphite breaking off onto the fucking paper shit. And then like they now have the paint algorithms that they're fucking with even more, where it actually starts to dry and affects the blendability of it, and then like the way it and like weird watercolor kind of shit that they have in there now too. To the one that I'm really interested in for doing lettering and kind of stuff is they have ones where you can customize your own brushes, so that you get to choose the like not only the brush width and stroke of it and stuff like that, but like depending on, because the pencil's so smart, depending on what angle you're on, it can act like a calligraphy brush. So that if you're going this way, it's thin, and then when you go this way, it becomes thicker. And then depending on your pressure, that adds a whole nother dynamic to it as well. So basically, if you're like a felt pen, you're holding on the thing, light, it's like spooling ink or whatever, you know what I mean? And then so the longer you or more pressure you do, you can whip little fucking things, and then there's actual complete controls over the actual like smoothness of it and shit like that. And if you want it to be like, you know, have every little bump of your hand, like, you know, cursor in there, you want it to be super smooth lines, so you just do this and it's like a perfectly smooth line.
Right.
That then has your designated taper on the end with a width effect, and like you can literally customize brushes and then save them and then just be like, okay, so there's that brush that I made for another
just
time.
Like the default settings you can
yeah, and so then you combine that shit with just like the ability of having layers upon layers upon layers. So then you're just like, oh, fucking, you just mess around so much, man. Like, my brain's just like, since now it's become a definite, like, I'm just like, oh, now I'm really thinking about the possibilities, and it's fucked.
Well, yeah, I mean, and then it's another medium within itself, right? You're like, oh, the
whole digital realm kind of thing, right? And then getting into the mixing analog shit of like doing actual sketches in real form on actual pencil and paper, using the camera to scan those in as a sketch layer, and then
adding
and then going from there. That's gonna be a whole nother world. You could
do like your inking or your coloring digitally on top of it.
They're just like fucking random ass ideas and of that nature. So it's gonna be some fun shit, man.
Crazy possibilities.
Oh god, dude. And then like you start to just like see what some people are actually doing with it, and it's just like you're like, it's the kid watching,
gets you hyped. You're like, you fucking did that with this, and you're like, whoa.
And then of course today's day and age, they're like, oh yeah, and here's how I did it.
And
you're like, oh, knowledge. You know, it's the one we always talk about, like the kid that sees a guy doing 900 and then he's like, oh, that's normal.
The knowledge thing's interesting though, because like how we're saying, you're like, oh, how did someone do that? Like specifically, like, you know, when people are like making stuff, like they're drawing or painting or whatever. Now, like, most likely there's someone out there that's posted something that is just like, oh yeah, this is how I did it. Like,
right, yeah.
These are the tools exactly that I used. This is how long it took, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, and here's some things like, that you're gonna fuck up on, so that's okay.
Yeah. Learn from my mistakes, right?
And you're like, oh, okay.
But we're like back in the day, you get like these Renaissance painters or whatever, right? These master painters, and that shit was like,
oh my god,
they were like magicians where they would keep everything as a secret. Right, so people would be like, how the fuck like did you paint that, right? And back then it wasn't like they're like, oh, I'm gonna go to Michael's or I'm gonna go to Opus or something and buy like my supplies and buy my paint. It's like, no, you get these people who are like, they're grinding their own pigment, and they're mixing it with literally oil, and they're making their own oil paints, right? And then they somehow figured out how to make these like crazy realistic portraits or landscapes, whatever. Then you get people that are like, oh, fuck, how do you do that? Like, I want to do that. And they're just like, I don't know.
You spend time figuring it out.
Yeah. And so you're like, no, man, like, I put in my 10,000 hours. So it's like they would withhold that information. And if people wanted to learn, you would have to become like, you'd have to be like an apprentice.
Yeah.
You're like, yo, please like take me under and teach me, right? That's like, that's how it was back then.
Well, because it almost
you can't blame, like on that side, you can't blame those people for being like, fuck you, I'm not going to tell you how to do this.
No
like,
way. No, you can't.
It's like, no, because like, why would I teach you? Then you'll be able to do it. And then like, then you could possibly take away business from me.
The funny thing was,
so it's funny. I understand both. Like,
oh yeah,
obviously you're hungry and you want to know how it's done. But on the other end, you're like, I've put in like years, you know what I mean?
You'd be usually like, towards the later end, or
and it's usually
the latter portion of the person's life when they're like, oh, I'm gonna die, I should probably pass on some of this knowledge.
yeah but it's like, it's usually the people that are impatient that want the information.
Oh yeah
you know what I mean? Just because they don't care about trying to figure it out. They're just like, yo man, how'd you do
give
that?
Me those 2,000 colors of paint.
What pencils are in that drawing? Like, I'm gonna go buy that because like I want to do what you do,
better,
right?
That'll make me better.
Where it's like, they're like, oh, I have the tools, but then like they'll attempt it and they'll give up and they'll never touch them again, right? So it's like, I understand both sides, but I'm more on the side of withholding that information, because it's like, it wasn't given to me, and it's like you had to earn it.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like, it's not going to help you if I give you everything you need, because like, you're truly not passionate about it. And I don't, I don't think most people would actually put in the time to figure it out.
Finding value in like the base. I mean, I feel the exact same way. That was my exact feeling when I was working at the guitar store, and mom would come in and buy a $6,000 guitar for a kid who's never played.
Right.
And you're like, you don't start there.
Or you see like,
you don't start there.
You see fucking like driving around, and you see like in like Richmond, they got crazy cars and shit. You'll see someone with like a fucking Lambo, and it's like they have an N.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck off.
Yeah. There's like different fucking levels to it for sure, right? When you're just like, man, like you're not gonna know the value of that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Whereas like I remember like starting off fucking shitty Squire Strat Pack, and then like, man, this thing's awesome. And then as I get better and I start learning to play it, and like, oh man, like, no, this thing really, like, wait, this thing kind of sucks. And then you start to realize why it sucks and why other guitars are good, and then what makes those guitars good, what makes this certain guitar better than that one, why this one plays different. Oh, a set neck actually sounds different than a bolt-on.
Yeah, then you get the natural progression.
You start understanding what you're looking at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because your brain wants to actually learn more, because it's like, it's only given this much. So then it learns what to do with this much.
Yeah.
So then it goes, okay.
Yeah, and like I said, like I understand both sides, but I am a bit more on the side of withholding that information, because I think when it's not given to you, it's like it'll make you better.
Right.
Because you're having to sit down and figure it out, right? And that will help you define your style, or like what medium you want.
Right. See, I think I'm a mix of that now, with a lot more of what, I try to do with myself is that like doing it is the most important part. So if I can like just be like doing, not like doing, like trying my best to work, like not like, so whatever it is, let's just say we're like, it's drawing or something like that. Like draw as much as possible, but then also take in as much information as possible about the things that I want to do. Like don't open end it, because that's when you're just like, oh, I'm just taking in knowledge. Like no. Like it's like the Todd McFarlane blueprint thing, where he's like, yo, like I'm actually gonna take his cue on this one, where I'm gonna be like, okay, this week is hands.
Oh yeah.
This week is forearms.
Yeah.
Next week is calves. You know what I mean? And it's just like, learn that. And that was the same thing with guitar, right? It was like, if there was a technique or something that I was into, wouldn't learn like the whole song and then spend forever just trying to learn the song as a piece. I'd go into it and be like, what is he doing here that makes the song cool?
Yeah.
And then it would usually be like, my guitar teacher is really intuitive, and he'd be like, okay, well, you want to learn that? Well, in order to learn that, we have to learn a technique before that. So I'm going to show you that, when we'll bridge you into that.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like pinpointing your amount. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think I get what you're saying too, though, is like, it's so easy to be overwhelmed. Right.
Yes,
so if you're just sitting there, like just taking in all this shit, and then you're not even doing at all, and you're just like, and you just become the guy that's just like spouting knowledge, but like hasn't done anything ever. You're like, come on, guy.
Yeah. You're not speaking from experience. Right?
Yeah. Which was like, you'd see after generations of teachers.
Which gives you that understanding, right? That trial and error.
Dude.
It's like, rather than you just like regurgitating knowledge.
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, oh, actually, I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. You know?
Exactly, dude.
It's like I was saying with like skateboarding, right? It's like you can only tell someone how to do something. You can't teach someone skateboarding. So it's like that trial and error trying to do a kickflip, and then that one you do something different, and then like you stay above it, and you're like, oh fuck, I get it. I think I know what I need to do. Right? It's that like eureka moment.
Yeah. It's all figuring out all your own shit and your own nuances. Getting past those, then maybe those little pieces of knowledge will apply. You know what I mean? Because each person has so much other shit going on in here that you couldn't just be like, here's what you have to do and it'll work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Maybe if they've gotten past every single...
it's just, it's not the best way to go about it.
No, not even the slightest. Maybe if the person's like so far removed that they're now in the flow state or something, it's like, these things can help make it happen. You know what I mean? Or something like that. But yeah, it's, I'm grateful for the fucking rampant knowledge machine that's out there nowadays.
Oh, like, yeah, for sure.
It's so fucking crazy. Like anytime I want to like know anything now, I'm just like, oh, what do I gotta do here? Fucking like, what's the best way to store jerky or something? You know what I mean? Like literally. And it's just like, yeah, you should do this. Best way. I did it one time when it was like, best way to store potatoes is in a cardboard box wrapped in paper towel in a cold, dark area. Yeah. I'm like, oh. Okay.
The more you know.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Because they used to just be kept in a burlap sack in the fucking...
Or in like people's basement.
Yeah, I was just saying, like in the garage.
Their cellar.
Yeah.
And there would just be a dark fucking wood room.
Yeah, exactly, right? Fuck, man.
Yeah, man.
Fucking...
That's funny. So you get that shit on a couple days, you said, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I just got sent the fucking tracking number, so... I had a homie that ended up hooking me up with that employee discount.
Ooh, it's like what, 15 or 20%?
It's about like 15% off or some shit. Save me a few $100. So
I mean, yeah.
Like, I mean, come on.
And you can put that towards the subscription for the monthly.
Yeah. Exactly. I'll pay for my fucking programs or some shit. Paid for the fucking leather case.
Yeah.
You know,
something, right?
Yeah.
Our stand or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm just fucking... And it's so funny too, because like last night was the prime example of like why I'm so stoked about a medium like this is that I don't really have the extra expenditure for supplies right now. You know, it's like the stuff that I would want to do. And then that was the big one, was space.
Yeah, space is huge.
Something simple as where I was drawing last night at one of my desk setups usually here, and I had all my felts out and I was trying to like... It was so dark out that I'm holding it in front of the laptop being like,
what the fuck color?
And then so I'd have to like literally just like draw it on a piece of paper. I'm like, okay, that's that color and that's that color. And then like, you know what I mean? Because I'm just like drawing in the dark, and then like, okay. And then my brain's like immediately like, okay, well, I think I've got a lamp somewhere. I can go set up. So then now I'm like,
now you can just be like, brightness.
I'm just like, I'm thinking about in my head already setting up some like mock art table setup that I'm going to have to tear down like as soon as I'm done. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, man, space is crazy. Space. Then you just become like a hoarder with shit. Like,
oh, dude,
my place.
I'm so jealous of your fucking art setup. Every time I see photos, that shit, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's years of accumulating stuff.
Oh yeah, and that's the way it goes, though, right? Like that's the same thing, where it's like you don't just
because it's never ending, right?
Yeah, you don't just start with all this or whatever. You just start. You do just start, but you don't start with all the like where you're at. You know, that's always the funny. We always talk about this one because it's like there's always somebody saying that, oh, this person just made it, and you're just like, no, they didn't.
That term "made it's" funny though.
I know, because it's like, what does that even mean? Because the people that made it when we were like in the 90s and shit are like washed up now and like have no money and like, you know what I mean? Like they're that made it off of like the one hit wonders or some shit.
Yeah.
And now they're just like some regular dude that's just like a computer programmer or some shit. And you're just like, oh. Or you,
right? Shit's temporary. You
end up like Smash Mouth, like All-Star, like is the biggest meme in the entire world. And like they were like
Smash Mouth.
That pencil beard, you know?
Oh my god.
Oh man, I thought they were fucking cool when I was in the 90s.
They were. Yeah.
It was fucking Smash Mouth, man. Yeah. What was that movie again? That it was the half-ass heroes or whatever. Remember you like the superheroes that were like one of the guys was like Shovel Man.
Oh,
what the fuck was that? Mystery Men. Is it Mystery Men? I think it's Mystery Men. Let's fucking look this shit up.
Right, like Ben Stiller. And
yeah.
Like the bowling ball with the
skull
in it.
Was he the fork guy? The guy had forks. He had a bunch of forks as his weapon.
No. That was Hank Azaria. Right? Wasn't he like some... I think that was him.
Yeah.
He was like the rage dude. He was like, he'd freak out, right? I think that's what Ben Stiller was. He was like the power of anger or some shit. I just remember him like freaking out. And then there was like homie that was like... Oh, no. Was it Cisco? When he's like... Yo, I can go invisible, but no one can look at me.
Maybe.
And then it actually happens at the end of the movie. You think he's just talking shit?
I think my internet's being fucky. Luckily, we still streaming at least. Oh, okay. It should be working now. 1 second.
Mystery Man. Yeah, for sure.
That's definitely Mystery Man. What are you doing, internet? Internet's being all slow.
Come on, man. Yeah, for sure. Mystery Man.
Yeah, that's definitely what it was, though. Fucking... Oh, jeez. It's so fucking crazy to think that we're already a week into 2018.
Yeah. What the fuck happened the last week, right?
Just that... If that's any sign, this year is just going to be like...
Yeah, man.
Like, uh-oh.
And there's so much that I'm doing and need to get done for this year that like this year's gonna go by fucking fast, man.
Oh yeah, dude. Absolutely, man. It's the fucking it's good.
Plus, like the next 2 months, like the shit that we'll probably like figuring out and doing, like trying to make, like those 2 months will go by so fast. Like
it's gonna be nutty.
In the workshopping.
It's gonna be fucking nutty, man.
Yeah.
Because like, not only am I gonna be like fucking, we're both gonna just be learning so much. And then the cross pollination too. That's gonna be the big thing.
The cross pollination.
For real though, right? Because it's just gonna be the leech effect, where all of a sudden it's just like, yo, I know a bunch of these random little things. You know a bunch of these little random things. And then be like, oh,
that's such a perfect term. Holy shit.
Yeah. And it's so good on the creative sense too, because it's just
I like that.
Letting it out, and then just a little bit of this, and then we end up leaving a little of that cross pollinated seed behind, and then it's just like
take a penny, leave a penny.
Yeah, bro.
Right.
Yeah, my internet's all fucky. I'm gonna make sure that this thing's still fucking streaming. It says that we're still alive, but
the internet's just like, oh yeah, fucking does not compute.
Yeah, hey.
I mean,
it looks like we're still fucking
seamlessness of 2018.
All right, we're still alive, so fuck it. I guess we just can't fucking search.
Oh, whatever.
That's all good. No fucking.
Young Jamie's got the day off today.
Yeah, young Jamie's got the day off clips today. Fuck. Which is all right. I don't really have a lot of stuff to show. There's a bunch of shit that's going on in the fucking news right now with a big fucking with one of the biggest YouTubers or whatever. He's this young vlogger that came from fucking from Vine. He's from the Vine invasion when Vine got shut down. Basically, a bunch of them crossed
short-lived, Vine.
Yeah, it sure was, right? So a bunch of them crossed over to YouTube, and then it was like we said, that was the Vine invasion, and fucking
is that what they call it?
It was like the quote unquote name for it in the background, kind of thing, like the adpocalypse when that was a thing or whatever, right? And so this one vlogger, he's one of these brothers, the Paul brothers. One of them is always in the news for something. If it's not one, it's the other. And Logan Paul and fucking,
what do they do?
They're vloggers. They do vlogs. And then one of them was signed to Disney. He was on a Disney show for a while, and they got 15 million subscribers each. And each of their videos gets millions and millions of views. And they'll put out the shitty diss track rap videos that get more views than hundreds of millions of views. They get more views than some big actual musician people. And they've always just kind of been the joke. It's Jake Paul and Logan Paul, the two brothers, and they've always kind of been the joker on the scene. Well, Logan Paul recently went on a big trip to Japan.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, respect is a big thing in Japan. So what does he do? He goes to let's go to the suicide forest and camp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you might have heard about this shit.
Yeah, when he was streamed
Yeah, he vlogged. They went into the thing to go fucking.
Was that what it was?
So essentially, just the basics of it was they were, let's go to the suicide forest and camp, and like we'll go find some ghosts or some shit. And then they wandered off the path and found a dude that hung himself. And then
was he still hanging?
Yeah, he was still hanging there, purple hands and yellow, and they fucking he just like vlogged their reaction to finding a dead guy. Filmed them like vlogging themselves like right beside the hanging guy, like filming his purple and yellow
like
hands,
joking about it, or?
Like just trying to like.
I've sort of heard something about it, but
like he tried to play it off like he was bringing suicide awareness to shit and whatever, but it was just brought up
like
so
after the fact.
Like he prefaced the video being like, okay, this video I'm not monetizing this video because I want to use it to bring suicide awareness, blah 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 blah. But then like was just so disrespectful through the whole thing that like the way that he was filming the guy and used the guy like in the thumbnail, like was like. Got like the shocked face with the hanging guy in the background, and that was his thumbnail for the video and shit. And he's like,
Jesus.
And then it just became, it was just not done tastefully. You know what I mean? Like,
why would you fucking film him at all?
Yeah. And even if you did, like, you're now having to edit that. So you're watching it again. So clearly you were making the conscious decision to post that.
Yeah.
And so that was just the big thing that was all blown up all over the fucking news. And it was just like, really? I mean, I get that you've been fucking vlogging for 4.5 years.
Did he even blur out the guy's face?
Yeah, he blurred out the guy's face.
Okay.
But I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
That's not really fucking doing any respect for the dead, even the slightest. Like,
that's fucked.
Guy goes to kill himself, and you're just like pretty much humiliating.
You're using him as a prop.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what you're doing. So it was just like, oh, it's so gross. So like everybody's just like losing their shit. Just like, come on, man.
And he's like filming with it and shit. So he's like, he's not even looking at it as if it's a dead person. Like he's just looking at it as like it's a thing. Then.
Hey? Well, no, he like, I don't know, man. He was just like,
like
his whole reaction was weird, man. It was very bizarre. I don't know if this stuff's actually working.
Like imagine if you rolled in a forest and saw a dead body, you'd be like. I'd be like disgusted, like, that shit would fucking hit you hard. But if this guy's just like continues, like he's in vlog mode, and I think that's, and he's like, really, well, I'm gonna use this, like, that's fucked up,
I think that's what really shook most people the wrong way, was just like, I don't know, the fact that it turned into like, dude, you still like, you posted this, like you're posting up like that was a dude, he has a family, like, you know what I mean, like show some respect, like, you know what I mean. So I don't know, like I'm almost glad that my YouTube's not working. There's no point in fucking showing that a millionth time. It's already been posted on everything. But
I'm sure, yeah.
But yeah, so then the funny part that's coming out, it's not even funny, but it's like,
so I'm sure he had to do like response videos.
He put out like a couple apology videos already, which are of course monetized and doing really well. Funny how that works. And then so there's these other videos that like people are now watching the videos prior to that one that was posted.
Reaction videos too.
No. Watching like the 3 days that he was in Japan before the Suicide Forest Day, and being like, yeah, like disrespectful piece of shit. Like you see all the stuff of him, like he's like they're like running around town in like kimonos with the big fucking rice picker hats and the masks, and like go to the fish market go to the fish market and grab a bunch of fish, and like are running around town yelling and screaming at people, like putting fish in their face, and like just being like assholes, like just like
that's fucking
and then like shit. Your whole audience, you have like 15 million subscribers, and they're all 10-year-old kids. So now you're just like teaching kids to just be pieces of shit, and like
be like, oh look, it's funny, I'm gonna go to fucking another country and just do some
and just mock everybody and be pieces of shit, and like which is like,
fuck that, man.
Which in a funny way, if done properly, is part of Japanese culture. I forget the name of it, but they have a whole fucking thing behind mocking, and that's like their way of joking about everything, like mocking each other and mocking fucking,
Yeah, it's like coming from respect, but he's just coming as a fucking
you're just coming in as a fucking asshole.
Yeah,
so it's just like, jeez, like fucking
you're gonna get
starting off 2018 on the right foot.
Yeah. There's gonna be people in Japan that do not think that's okay.
Yeah, that's true.
You're gonna get fucking clapped up, son.
Yeah, that's true. Come back missing a few fingers.
Dude, for real.
Yeah. Oh, man. Doesn't matter if you got fucking 15 million subscribers at that point.
Yeah. At least one of those people are gonna fucking find you, bro.
I guess so. Right? Fucking yes. Keep having the fuck
shit,
with this shit.
That was what, like a week ago?
About a week ago. Yeah, it's about a week ago. Yeah. Yeah. So it was within 2018. So like I say, starting off on the good foot.
Oh shit.
Yes. No, it was like 4 days ago, probably. Realistically.
Shit always seems like way older. Hey, like the lifespan of anything nowadays.
Well, it's like what I was talking to you about a while ago, man. I'm now seeing the shit on YouTube. That when it was
like, was that last month? It was like 5 days ago. You're like,
when you're on the homepage or whatever, it'll say 1 year ago now. When it was like 2 months ago.
Oh, right.
And you're like, look at this old ass video that was posted in December 2017. What?
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, it's like it should still have like the stamp like 2 months or 6 months or whatever.
It does. But it's
when
like I
get within the year. But I get it's probably just like, the computer reads it, right? It's like boom, as soon as it switches over.
No, it does it when you're on a page when they're super small thumbnails, and then they can only have so much text. So I guess 1 year is more easier to fit than like 12 months or something like that, I guess. Or the month factor of it. I don't know how that works, but when you just literally go to it, the page, all of them will just say one, like in year on certain pages. So it won't actually just be months. So then it'll just be like 1 year ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, click on it. And it's like November 28th, 2017. I'm like, what the fuck? It was not even 2 months ago. It was a year ago. Well, it was last year. Yes.
Yeah. There's,
Yeah, it was weird.
Weird reasoning.
It was weird. YouTube's weird. They don't tell us or explain anything ever.
YouTube's weird.
They're just like, oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're like, what do you mean? Oh yeah. You're just like,
what?
That fucking old man shit. When they're just like,
that's how it is.
So, and you're like, what?
Like,
my dad does that one all the time, and I'll just be like, well,
the pause,
and you're like.
All
right, I'm gonna go this way now.
Like, all right, big gulps, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right,
see you later.
Yeah. Well,
or you just throw it back at when somebody does that, and they're like, so somebody's like, well, you're just like, well, they're just like,
it's a checkmate.
Oh fuck, right? Damn, can't do that one, man. Oh jeez. Fuck, what do you got planned for the fucking this or let's just say it this way. What do you want to see happen in fucking 2018?
2018?
Yeah. Cuz it's going to go quick.
It is going to go quick, man, especially when like I got some projects that are in the works. So a lot of it is just really organizing with people. Like I got stuff greenlit from people. I'm just waiting to have like a couple meetings and like start it. You know what I mean? Like the idea's done. It's been confirmed with people. Now I gotta do the sit down to like, when are we gonna do it? You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like I have that with a couple people. One of them I started yesterday. Which when I get the product of yesterday back, I will post it on my Instagram. From little hiatus I've taken to just kind of keep people in the loop. And been on a little tease train. Yeah, that's good though. I love that shit. Yeah, it's helped me focus more and prioritize like end goals for this year, for what I want to do for next year, which I will explain once all this shit's all figured out. Yeah, you gotta wait till time's right, of course. Because I want to hit people with like, look what's done versus like, this is what I plan on doing. It's like, no, look at what I did. You know what I mean? So biggest lesson I ever learned from when I was a kid. You can talk about shit. Yeah. Less talk, more action. Yeah. But I can promise you that I got lots of stuff that is done, is in the works, and is about to start. So all bases of different things. But yeah, this year really I'm just focusing on that end goal for which I've talked to you in private for next year. And then, just stuff that we'll be working on I guess that we'll announce to people. And
yeah, that one's
just a lot of just trying new stuff and trying to produce
like I kind
more.
of mentioned to you, I think it's definitely the big year for fucking it. Well, for myself, the moniker of this year is create more. It's like that's like I'm saying that shit so much, but then year of collaboration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that shit, you learn so much from it, and then not to mention the exposure is just like
there's
that's that cross pollination. There's that shit again. It literally is that.
Yeah.
Like
there's someone else too. Like another one I'm gonna meet with is another artist that I'm gonna be doing a collab with. So that'd be cool.
Yeah. And we're gonna also start really working stuff towards getting some guests on here finally. I mean, fucking, I've got a few people in mind. I know you got a few people in mind, and then we'll just like that, like the ultimate cross pollination of just have more fun with it, picking other people's brains, and just like start getting into those other worlds.
Just other like people that are creative and doing shit. It's like,
you know, it's like that whole other world of shit that we
like, you know, it's like we like will nerd out with these people about whatever their lane.
You know, the first one's gonna be like when we have somebody sit down and we're gonna be like, oh shit, that's 3 hours. Like it's gonna be like, oh shit.
I'd be like part 1, 3 hours. Part 2, 3 hours.
Shit, right?
Yeah.
Like fucking, I can definitely see that one happening. Yeah. So I'm super stoked on that front. Fucking expanding this nature, fucking let alone everything else in the back end. It was actually really good that we ended up calling off fucking last week's fucking podcast because
the one earlier this week.
Yeah, or this week, I guess. That was earlier this week. Because fucking
catching up on shit. I
was catching up on shit, but I was also in a dark place. I had my first like I'll say either like mental breakdown or like panic attack, anxiety attack. Essentially mental breakdown. My brain fucking hit the reset button. I don't know where it came from. It was just like so much shit that like came. You know when shit just eventually comes to a overwhelmed. Pinhead? Yeah.
You're like, shit, I need to do this and do this and do this.
Yeah, a mixture of that with a whole bunch of other shit on the back end and like financial stresses and it just came to a breaking point when I was suddenly just like living like the way I was able to fucking I had to try to figure out a way to explain it to like people around me, like my family and stuff, because it's like they've never understood depression or anxiety and stuff. And the simplest way I was just able to be like it's essentially like living in symbiosis with these fucking demons.
Yeah, for sure. And
you're just like, in order to function, you have to accept that you're like, oh, we, you know, like us, we're
there's there's good days and
I'm
then
gonna live amongst these motherfuckers and I'm gonna just make the best of it. And then some days they win, you know. And it was essentially that was what it really was just like that. And it just like they completely won to the point where it just like started shutting off portions of my brain and like my like physical, and then like to a point when that was just like, yo, you can't even think your own thoughts. We're just taking over. Full Venom stage, like full Venom stage symbiosis.
Yeah. Once it starts, it just takes over.
Yeah, but it was so humbling at the end of it, because I'm grateful in the sense where I'm able to come out of it like within a day, like 3 to 6 hours. I can usually, like, after a crazy fucking, like, I don't know, whatever I go through to get out of it. But once I'm finally through it, I'm able to start like seeing properly again and feel portions of my brain start to turn back on. Literally like input Mac, boom,
the come down,
the fucking like the startup Mac noise turns on, and it's just like
the dial up.
Sound. Light banks start turning on again. But I always found and anytime I would have like one of those really big ones would be because my brain was trying to figure so much shit out that it like really had to like, it was too much going on, but also enough to the point where it was able to break this sounds weird, but like it's almost a good thing where I'm able to break myself to the point of like being able to fully stand out from the outside and be like, yo, motherfucker, find out what's true, find out what needs to happen. And like,
yeah. And it's like, it's kind of like when you take a break from something. So you have that breaking point, and you're just like, you're left with nothing. Yeah. And then you have to rebuild. And regroup. And then it's like, it's almost necessary. Yeah. I would say, like,
it's
as
a necessary evil, dude.
As shitty as it is.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks at the time, but like after the fact, you're almost like thankful, right?
Yeah.
Like something tragic to happen because it's a learning experience. And you're like, and you come back even stronger, like even harder. And then you're like, okay, fuck, like.
That's definitely the thought process I had about it, where I was just like, yo, motherfucker, like, okay, if that's what it's like at the shittiest,
Yeah. You're like, okay, I just ate shit.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, that's the worst that can happen.
Okay, let's get up and do
You're
this.
like, all right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was where there was a lot of that self-analyzing again, where I was able to be at the point, be like, yo, let's really go back to the root of what I was and like always wanted to be and do. And it's just been creating shit. And then art was always the biggest part about that. And I got so far removed. Like when I started BC Plugs, it was making wearable art. That's what jewelry is. Wearable art. You know? And then so I was like, oh, yo, I want to get to the point where I can start putting my drawings on this shit and start expanding all that stuff.
Customize, right? Yeah. Then you're you know,
so I started thinking about it like customizing art kind of thing. But then I got so tied up in the business end of it that I just ended up becoming to a point where I was just like a production line. When I got so far removed from
crunching numbers instead of ideas.
So I got so far removed from just creating fucking art again. And it was just like, yo, I think I was just really a part of myself was feeling such strong disdain for myself, being like, you're not doing what you should be doing. Like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, you are creating in lots of other ways, but like you're not focusing on it in the way that you need to be, you know? So it was just like, okay, reset point. Okay, fucking shit sucked, but at least I know what it's like when it sucks.
Do you feel better like after the fact though? You're like, okay,
so good. Like it was like you were saying, it's a weird thing to say, but you're almost grateful for it. You're kind of like, all right, thanks for keeping me in check.
Like that weight,
yeah,
lifted a little bit.
Like,
you know?
All right, okay. Yeah. I'm not getting any younger. I should probably do the shit that I want, you know? For real, it's 31 now, boy.
Yeah, man.
Fucking jeez.
Crazy.
Yeah, fucking.
How fast it comes, eh?
Well, fucking 2 more years, 2020, man. We're going to be in fucking... I think Blade Runner was in 2019, the first one, I think.
Well, remember Back to Future? Right?
Yeah.
Wait, it was 2015?
Was it 15 or 18?
I don't know. 2015. I think it was 2015.
Okay. Yeah, it might have been. I don't know because there were so many Photoshops online where it would always be like, today's the day that they went to in Back to the Future. And you're just like,
I think it was 2015.
Yeah, probably. That sounds about right. And there's like fucking flying this, hoverboards, like super fitting.
Man.
Although,
that fucking jacket, right? The one fills up and it shrinks to size and dries up and shit.
So this just brought me to a crazy thing. They have a fucking new concept Lamborghini coming out that is so insane. It's literally a car of the future. It has 4 separate engines inside. It has an engine inside each wheel. So like there's these big futuristic looking wheels that like light up when the fucking car's like rolling or whatever and shit. And then the
engine in every wheel.
Yeah. So there's like a hubless motor inside each fucking wheel. Just imagine like a fucking like a big donut looking kind of like thicker looking wheel, but the motor's inside the wheel. So then it gets into crazy shit for traction, where now all of a sudden there's like computer brains inside each wheel, putting in exactly.
So doing a turn, this one will shut off, and these will still be going. So you get better
just fucking crazy shit like that. But the thing that led me to think about that was the exterior of it is apparently this new crazy. I haven't seen it in person, but the way they talked about it is like this fucking a computer composite self-healing material. So like you scratch a key along the side and it's like,
and it just fucking Wolverine fixes itself. What?
Yeah, that shit's coming in like the next fucking concept Lambo. So it's like we're actually on the brink of crazy future shit, dude. I've heard about some shit lately that like.
Is this something you read or something you watched?
This was on the newest episode of Grand Tour. They showed the fucking the concept images of it and started talking about it and shit.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I think it's coming either the end of this year they're unveiling it or 2019. I forget. But soon, super soon, we're going to see crazy future shit.
Dude.
And then fucking to another one that I saw that they're now working on robots that sweat to cool down the motors inside their muscles.
So when it does too many fucking backflips, it can sweat and cool off.
Yeah, dude. So they're like starting to go through all these like, just like it's the same kind of thing. Like I won't pay attention for a week, and then I'm like, yeah, what's going on in tech?
Well, dude, like the exponential tech, right? It's
insane.
And at the rate it is going, right? You take that.
Well,
the break from what's going on, and then you come back and you're like, dude, I was gone for a week. Like
a week.
The fuck you mean? There's like.
Well, that my favorite quote or the tweet of, I guess it was last year now, was fucking Elon Musk with the backflip when he tweeted the backflipping robot that said, "You think this is crazy? Just wait 3 years and you'll need a strobe light to even see this thing move." Because
wait, what?
The thing's going to be moving so fucking fast that the only way you're going to be able to see it is if there's a strobe light going.
In 3 years.
Yeah, and within about 3 years. Because your eyes only see it 60 frames per second. You need a strobe light to be able to see something move within fucking that frame rate.
I wonder what else this guy's just got fucking on his Batman belt, as you would say.
Well, there was they're doing
like this is the shit that's coming out. Wait till you see the shit that I don't announce.
I don't know if it's there and back. The first there and back Mars flight is
right.
Yeah, but they're doing a flight there with a rocket this year.
This year,
yeah, okay. Not manned though. Manned.
What's the? I forget the like the allotted time it's going to take. Like from here to Mars, like what they estimate it. It's like 6 months or something. Am I making that up? I feel it's a couple months, right?
It's a long time.
It's a couple months. I think.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Until they get into like this new crazy shit they've been working on for a while, where it's gonna be like using like these like
actually
fucking big old tinfoil satellite dishes that they fire laser beams into, and then they fucking propel them through laser beams and shit. I've seen
through laser beams.
Yeah, there's some weird shit that they're working on ideas where they're like, maybe we can come up with this like essentially it's almost like a giant like tinfoil dish that we can power through space by pushing it with laser beams and like shit like this, and it ends up being like 10 times fat. Like I would have to look that one up, but there's some fucking they're working on some shit. We're definitely in future times, man. And then we're even on the brink of I'm starting to hear more about it now is what.
So I'm just looking up here the allotted time it would take. So the time it takes to travel between Earth and Mars varies between 6 to 8 months. So
yeah,
that was the number.
And if you're on the first flight, you're not coming back.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy.
You're not coming back.
Yeah, and what's crazy is people are like
lining up,
right?
Lining the
it's like no,
up.
You don't ever want to be the first to do something like that, or like be the first to get like tech or like the first of something. It's like that's when they find out all the problems, right? Yeah. And even though
dude, I don't even do the first update on a new iOS.
Yeah. Because a week later they're like, don't
update, let's put up the 0.1.
Yeah, fucks your battery or
the
like
11.0.1.
But the thing with Mars, right? When they're the interview process that they have to go through with people, right? To make sure they're not gonna fucking go psycho. Cause like who's to say like even if you pass these tests,
cut in scene from Jason in Space.
Or the fucking like shining like through the door like axe like moment where these people pass these tests when they're asking you questions, but like when you're in the real thing, you're on there say month 5 or whatever, you're around these fucking strangers, like being in that situation, who knows like the breaking point some people have, like you never know the interactions with these people. You may be paired up with a couple people or a person that you just fucking butt heads with.
Yeah.
And it's just like shit goes down. You know what I mean? It's like you're not coming back.
No.
And like you don't there's so many factors, right? Like, and even like if you think you're ready, say you pass the test and you're like, I'm fucking like I'm good to go. I'm like,
yeah.
One way, man, like it's for the greater good. And then you may even fucking not expect yourself to break or some shit. Like it's yeah,
it's bizarre, man. It's a fucking what a gamble. I mean, when you really you're like, well, might as well go fucking.
I mean, it's exciting for sure, but it's a lot of.
I'm not lining up.
It's a lot of up in the air.
I won't see you in line, will I?
You know.
It's like, well, where are you going, Adam? Man.
I'll sit back and watch it from afar.
Yeah, for real, right?
You know what I mean? Like,
for fucking
I'll
real.
tune in and watch the live stream. But
oh man. Yeah, and that's the crazy thing.
But think about that for sure. Hey, they'll be like,
they're gonna be live streaming.
They'll be fucking superstars.
Oh yeah. People are thinking about it that way.
Yeah, their faces will be on Time Magazine.
Because I'm seeing like we're live streaming right now, but we're in the live streaming era, man. Yeah. We're in the shit where like everybody live streams everything. It's crazy. And like I get it. We talk about it all the time where you're like, man, when you want to go see that person fucking drawing or making a peanut butter sandwich or some shit, you know, it's like
eat a cucumber, like, you know, there's
if you're interested, man,
anything you fucking think of, it's been recorded or being recorded and shared. So
it's like with amongst what we're both been kind of just dabbling on, like what we'd like to see with this year and shit, and it's just like that's ultimately my main one, man. It's like I'm gonna be fucking creating more, making more art, I'm gonna be streaming more vlogs. Fuck it, dude, I put out 83 vlogs last year.
That's fucked.
Yeah, so I'm doing 100 this year.
I don't like that number, so make it at least 84.
I'm gonna do 100 this year.
Do an even.
Yeah, I'm gonna do 100 this year. Brian, 3 is my number, man.
Yeah.
Which my breakdown was on the 3rd apparently, so I was like, oh shit, is that my reset point?
Okay,
is that my fucking, so I'm just fucking, yeah, this is the year that we just make shit happen. Fucking, that's definitely one thing. And I even was like, I just put a little I was razzling on some fucking people online about some whole shit, because the whole thing with hype beasts and when they take photos and shit is they all hide their face, like it's always taking a photo like this like this, or like face, like literally like fucking just always hide my face. So it's like I tweet blasted and like put out an Instagram post just like with myself doing that and just being like, what did I say? I was just like, hype beasts be hiding their face so their mom doesn't find out how much of her money they're spending. But then it turned into a good conversation on Twitter where it was just like, yo, let's try to, us within the sneaker community and stuff, not just post photos of our sneakers. We're people too. Like, you don't have to hide your face if you're doing a fucking thing, and then your photo looks exactly like everybody else's photos, and then you go like this, your photo's unique.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's there, it just got so far along this weird rabbit hole where everybody was like, oh, that's what I have to do. That's the fucking pose that I have to do.
Right though.
Yeah, can't show the face. And so I don't know. I like just like stirring up little shit like that where I'm like, yo, let's all be people this year.
Be you, man.
You know, we're all you know, we only have like only you can offer what you have to create.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If somebody's into like Adam Hoens' shit, they can only get that from Adam Hoens. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So it's just fucking, it's been really reinforcing in that light where it's just like we're seeing people that like are just doing their thing, being themselves, and they're like some of the most like successful people or whatever. You know what I mean? Because it's like we're in a time where you could just fucking stream whatever the fuck it is.
Dude, yeah.
Like PewDiePie had this video the other day. It was like streaming fails, and it had this one part that was like really kind of interesting, almost like broke the fourth wall of streaming.
Like of his own, or
no, just like he was just showing videos of people that had streaming fails and stuff. And there's this Chinese girl was like sitting out in public with her laptop streaming, and some dude walks past, and I don't know if her name was like Chio or something like that, and he goes like I don't remember, but he's just like, here you go, Chio, gives her a tip and walks past and like tips her like as if it was like, because she's used to getting tips in the digital world. So then all of a sudden she gets tipped and somebody knows her name in the real world, but then when she turns around she can't see who did it, and she starts freaking out, being like, what the hell just happened? Who, somebody recognized me and tipped me in person, and it like this weird, you could see her like her mind just being blown, and it's like what she does all day long, but as soon as it happens in the real world,
you know, that like, reminds me of, remember that Vice documentary on mukbang? We've talked about it before,
but of course,
when the interviewer, she goes and meets up with that one girl, right, and then she meets up with fans, and when she's sitting down eating a meal with all the fans, and all the fans are just on their phones because they're so used to like seeing her through the phone that when they're literally beside her in real life,
too bashful or can't even,
they're so timid, and they're like, they can't handle it, so they're all on their phones and quiet, and she's like eating, she's just like, what the fuck?
Fucking like, weird, man.
And then they leave and they give her gifts and stuff, and they were like, well, it's funny how they couldn't handle you in real life.
Yeah.
You're so used to like through,
exactly
seeing it through the screen.
And it was like this girl's reaction of that.
She's
but
used to it, in the digital realm,
as
right?
the streamer getting tipped in real life, and she's like,
whoa.
Like, what? And then like, oh, you can almost even see her brain thinking like at certain seconds, like, is this guy psycho? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't think about it.
Yeah, but why is it any different?
Exactly. But there's just this fact that you're in public, and now this person's like,
she's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Feels all like vulnerable and shit. And you're just like, it's just, I don't know. It was interesting seeing that wall break.
Where was she?
I don't know where she was. They only kind of just like showed her, and you could just see city and people walking behind. So she's just like sitting outdoor at a cafe or something somewhere or something. And it's just, I was like, here you go, Chio. You tip Chio or something like that. And she's just like, what the fuck? What? Did he just tip me? Did he just know my name? Like freaking the fuck out. Like,
interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, dude, fucking
tipper.
What are we at here? Yeah, I guess that's it for fucking today, isn't it? We seem to be that seems to be about our average now. Is that like 130? That 132 kind of thing. Fucking, but yeah, we'll aim for Wednesday. Fucking, hopefully my fucking brain doesn't shut down. Wednesday should be good. I gotta fucking take my parents to the airport in the afternoon after the pod. So fucking
shit, and they're Audi.
And then they're Audi 5000.
Where are they going? Hawaii,
everywhere, but
they're going on a couple.
Yeah, I won't go too much into that because people don't need to know the deets. But
what are their names again? How old are they?
Yeah, they're fucking. So I guess that's it for us. The first deep seated podcast of 2018.
Yeah, man.
Fucking, I guess. Yeah, we'll see y'all next week. Have a fucking good one.
Peace, guys.
Lights.